Alright, so once again I've saved you some time watching the video and paused it while the code was generated, and it's pasted now into the Arduino environment here. Included factors: the LCD button shield and the analog input named IR scanner attached to pin A1, and another bit of code chunk which is the IR scanner, the name of what we did. Let's see, liquid crystal, it's a different library. It's not liquid crystal _ I²C. This is a standard library that comes with the Arduino, but it may not be installed. I know when I ran this on this computer I had to install it, so just be mindful of that. And here's the hardware. Okay, the button shield. We're going to assign some constants to these buttons. And these, you can't really mess around with it. It's what comes, it's how the shield is hardwired. So these lines are important. This means that we can use these words left, right, up, down, select in various ways further down the code. And they're all in capitals. That's often what's done when it's a constant. You put all of the letters in capitals. Okay, now this liquid crystal shield, we're going to give it the name LCD, but it claims all of these pins, and that's why on that connector they didn't bring out all of those pins. They only brought out the ones that were still available once the liquid crystal display was tied in, wired in. Okay, so just be mindful of that you can't use any of these because the liquid crystal display is using them all. Okay, setup. We're going to now set up the button shield, and it's very similar to what we were doing with the other LCD displays. We begin, then we clear, and then we say starting. I'm not blinking the backlight at all on this. I'm not sure if I even can. Okay, loop is the same. We're going to run demo. First we're going to demo the scanner. I'm sorry, well, we do the LCD text, and we say starting demo for 1 second. But here's the IR scanner. The way the scanner works is it has a little infrared light that it shines out, and then a little infrared detector that receives the light in. So if we go here and look at the image of the detector, this is it here, and so coming out one side there's what's called an emitter, the light goes out, and here there's a collector pointing at the same spot. So you use this on a piece of paper or whatever, something that has like a line, black line and a white line, and it can pick up very clearly the difference between those two, and I'll be showing that. The connectors here are just screw terminals, and that's side here is 5 volts. This is ground in the middle, and yellow on this end, which is the data line. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. Back to this, the code. Okay, so we scan, and it's just an analog read of that pin, and it's just going to return the number, and every 300 milliseconds it's going to do it again, and the whole thing is going to run for 10 seconds. Okay, now here's the interesting stuff, the button shield. We're going to run it for 10 seconds, and while it's running this little code, and I'll be showing that to you, this get key function. And it's saying here, if when it runs this function, it returns something which is equivalent or equal to the value of this constant left, then it's going to say that the button name is left. And if it returns a right, then it's going to say right and up and down and down. And if it's nothing, it's not going to show anything. Because right up here we say button is equal to, I don't know, it actually does it, and then it leaves it there until it's overwritten by the next message here, and that's where this is. It puts the button name on there, and so it's either going to print left, right, up, down as you press the button. Okay, and then it's going to delay here, and then after that we have mode 1 and mode 2. So I'm calling that mode 1 of printing out on the screen the names of the buttons, and it's putting the names on the LCD, not on the serial monitor or any place else. And now mode 2, I'm going to use those buttons to change the value of some number, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that if I push on the left button, it's going to subtract 1 from whatever that value is. If I push on the right, it's going to add 1 to whatever the value is. If I push up, it's going to add 10 to that value. If I push down, it's going to subtract 10 from that value. Okay, so this is an example of how you can use those buttons to input a number on a simple system, maybe a battery-powered thing, not hooked up to a computer. All right, and then if you press the select key, let's see here, while this says that this is going to loop around both for 10 seconds and while the select key is not pushed. And I think we did the same thing up here too. Yeah, we said that if the select key gets pushed, we no longer keep cycling around. So you can break out of mode 1 by pushing select, and you can break out of mode 2 by pushing select. And what that does is just finishes up the demo, and of course it recycles again. Okay, so that's what this code does. What does get key do down here? First of all, this return and int means that it will return an integer, and we saw that it returned the integer and up in the code a bit. But these values here, these are the analog numbers that come in from that analog line, and these numbers are different because of a series of resistors. And I'm not going to go into detail of what the values are or how they're connected, but just be mindful that if you were to just do an analog read on that line, you would return some values and they would change based on what the button was that got pushed. Now I think you have issues if you push 2 buttons. It's only going to return the one that on this code has the lower number, because you see here it says if, then it's going to return right, so it jumps out of this. It never even evaluates these lines back here, and you see how these numbers keep going bigger and bigger. And if it doesn't satisfy anything, it returns a 0. So the get key value that gets returned is equal to 0. But otherwise, it returns whatever the values of these are. Okay, so and then display is the same. We use the same functions here when we have this LCD as well, and then we have the analog read. Although I don't think we're using this. No, we're not. Okay, and LCD text and clear. Okay, so that's the code. Let's now actually take the camera and look at what's going on one that's been uploaded. And I got to get this to look a little clearer. It was looking better before. That's one problem. These displays, they don't work well with cameras. Well, I got another light up here. Well, that seemed to help. Alright, so here we are. We're seeing the external pot, and I need to plug in this, oops, there it is, the IR receiver. You see the relative size based on my finger. And, alright, so ground goes towards the inside, and this is A1, and we're going to do that. Alright, so in the demo, it's just now, okay, so here's the external pot, and I don't really have a line drawn on my piece of paper, but see, if I go over here, it's a high number in the dark area. Oh, wait, you can't see what I'm doing here. Alright, can you? And over here, alright. So let's just get out of here. We'll wait for this section to come, and we're going to come back. Hello? Oops. Somehow. Alright. I don't know. Crazy things are happening today. Alright. External pot over here, 530, 600. Over here, a real low number. It also depends on how high you hold the thing, how well it reflects. Alright. So, as I said, I didn't want to really show the reflector here. I'm just going to take it off at this point. It kind of affects the focus. And we're almost done here. So this is the values. So for 10 seconds, well, I'm just going to push select and get out of this one. We're going to go back to the external pot for 10 seconds. And I'm just going to push these buttons once it's out of here. Okay, so if I push the up button, it shows the word up. Down button there. Left button left. right button right, and if I push select, it gets out of mode 1. And now up button adds 10 each time, or subtracts 10 if I do down. If I do the right, it, oh, sorry. Maybe I should have made that demo a little longer. Okay, I'm just going to push select now and go from mode 1 to mode 2. And if I I'm pushing the right button, it adds 1 each time. But you have to be careful about how you push, a little click. Okay, so that's it running, and this is the end of the lesson.